All right, so for the first one, we found the angles that have a sign of negative root 2 over 2, and they were 5 pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4, but we said anytime we added a circle to that, we would get another angle that has the same sign. For tangent, we're still, some of us, guessing and checking, which is perfectly fine as long as you're good at guessing and checking, because it's the y divided by the x. So you have to look at your angle and think y divided by x is going to give me root 3 over 3. Let's look for our first quadrant angle, guys. What should we guess and check? In the first quadrant. It's okay if it's wrong. That's why we're going to check it. Okay, 30 degrees or pi over 6. So we're going to try that one. We're going to do y over x. So check pi over 6. 1/2 over root 3 over 2. Those cancel. And if I rationalize, do I get root 3 over 3? Yeah. So that was a good one to guess. It was right. So x is going to equal pi over 6. And what's the other angle? What quadrant is tangent positive in besides the first? Yep, the third quadrant, because in the third quadrant, y and x are both negatives, so the negative over negative cancels out. So third quadrant, what's the angle in the pi over 6 family in the third quadrant? 7 pi over 6. So these are both answers. And of course, if I add a full circle to them, I'm going to get another answer. But for tangent and for cotangent, there's an even more compact way to write these answers, and here's why. 7 pi over 6 and pi over 6, they're exactly opposite each other on the unit circle. So how far apart is that if they're exactly opposite? 180 degrees or pi radians. They're pi apart. So that means if I add pi to the first angle, I get the next one. And if I add pi to the second angle, I get back to the first one, right? So I can consolidate these into one expression. Does anybody think they know? Bless you. Anybody think they know what the one expression is I can write? Give it a try. Say it again. Pi over 6 plus pi k. Does that include all the answers? It does. Yeah. Well done, girls. Pi over 6 plus pi k. So this answer is okay, technically right, and this is the best answer. Okay, that's the best answer because it's the most eloquent answer, okay? It's saying everything in the shortest way possible. All right. I'm going to try this one with you, and then I'm going to give you a minute to try this one. In this one, I have to isolate the tangent. So what would I do first to isolate the tangent of theta? Subtract. Good. So 3 tan theta equals negative root 3. And then what? Divide it. Good. Okay. So tangent of theta equals negative root 3 over 3. Now up here, we found pi over 6 was going to give us positive root 3 over 3, so it's probably the same family. So what do you guys think? Which angle should we check? That's the right family, but what quadrant? Well, we want to check the pi over 6 family, though, because that gave us root 3 over 3. 5 pi over 6 is a good one to check. So here's 5 pi over 6 right here. And if I do 1/2 divided by negative root 3 over 2, I think that's going to work for us. Check. 5 pi over 6. So I get negative 1 over root 3, which does make negative root 3 over 3. So that's an answer. That's good. So we have x is equal to, I don't know what that is, 5 pi over 6 plus 2 pi k. And what's the other angle? We had one in the second quadrant. What's the one in the fourth quadrant going to be? 11 pi over 6 plus 2 pi k. And raise your hand, please, if you can consolidate those into one more eloquent statement. Say it louder, Courtney.
5 pi over 6 plus pi.
5 pi over 6 plus pi k. Does that work? Yes, very good. Okay. So you only want to try to consolidate your answers if you're doing tangent or cotangent because the period of those functions is pi. Think about all the other functions. The other functions have what period? 2 pi, thank you. But tangent and cotangent have a period of pi, so those are the ones that you can consolidate into one statement. All right, so try the cosine one now. And remember, you're going to probably have to leave your answer in 2 statements. That's okay. Try this one. Yay! All right, so Kieran isolated the cosine. He got cosine x equals 1/2. And then he found the angles that have a cosine of 1/2. They are pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3. And then he remembered the plus 2 pi k to include all the answers. Okay? All right, so we're going on to part 2 now. I want you to start by isolating the cotangent of theta. So if you haven't done that yet, isolate the cotangent of theta. And notice this time I only want the answers from 0 to 2 pi. That's different from general solution. Okay? So up here, I was asking for the general solution, which includes all the answers. Down here, I'm asking only give me answers between 0 and 2 pi. All right, I got cotangent theta equals -1. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, and then cotangent is negative in which quadrants? 2 and 4. Very good. 2 and 4. So I need the y divided by the x to make -1. What angle should I be looking at? 135 would work, which is 3 pi over 4. And then down here, what's the angle? 315, which is 7 pi over 4. So either of those angles work. Now, if you are already understanding that your answers are going to compile into one answer, it's okay to just start that way. You can just write theta is equal to... Actually, we can't this time, sorry. We could if we were doing the general. If it was the general solution, I could just write 3 pi over 4 plus pi k. But I'm giving the answers from 0 to 2 pi. So it's 3 pi over 4 and... 7 pi over 4. Good. Okay. Okay. On the next page, some of the intervals are different. If it says 0 to 4 pi, then that would mean that after you get the answers on the first unit circle, you have to add 2 pi to each of them to get answers on the second unit circle. Okay, you have a question on this one? You can't see which part. Oh, that's good? Okay. All right, turn the page, try the next one. Try the next one. Hey. Oh, this time there's a clue that I want a different kind of answer. What kind of answer do I want? It's an angle, but what kind of angle? In degrees, you see that? Because my interval's in degrees, that means I want degree answers, okay? Give answers in degrees. I still only want answers in the first unit circle, though. So isolate your cosine. Can I simplify -6 over -8? 3/4, good. And how do I get rid of the squared? How can I get rid of a squared, guys?
Square root.
Square root, good. When you square root both sides, what do you need to remember? Plus or minus, good. You had good Algebra 2 teachers. Plus or minus, square root. Okay. All right, square root of 3 is just square root of 3. But what's the square root of 4? 2. Does that look like something on your unit circle? It does. And look, cosine of theta could be positive root 3 over 2 or negative root 3 over 2. So if I'm going from 0 to 360, how many answers will there be? There'll be 2 positive answers and 2 negative answers. So altogether, 4 answers. Okay. So cosine's the x. So I've got an answer here, 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 and over here. And I'm answering in degrees. So I got 30 degrees, 150 degrees, 210 degrees, and 330 degrees. Okay, I want you guys to take a minute now and try 4. It says to solve from 0 to 4 pi, so that means after you find the answers on the first unit circle, you need to add 2 pi to each of them to find answers on the next unit circle. Okay, looking at Emily's work, she isolated cosecant theta and got cosecant theta equals 2. A lot of you guys followed that up with a statement about sine theta. If cosecant theta equals 2, what does sine theta equal? 1/2. Good. So that might make it easier to see what you're looking for on the circle. You're looking for where the sine is 1/2. So on your circle, you'll see that at pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6. Then down here, she gives you a little clue about how she got her other answers. She added 12 pi over 6, which is, what is 12 pi over 6?
2 pi.
It's 2 pi, good. So she added 2 pi to each of her answers to get 2 more answers. Raise your hand if you can tell us why you would have to add 2 pi to those answers in this problem. I see 1 hand,
I'd rather not
2
know.
hands. Okay, Courtney.
It says solve through 2 unit circles.
Okay, so if it says 0 to 4 pi, that means do the first circle, and then you have to go around that circle 1 more time. So literally you would add 2 pi to each of yours. If it said 0 to 6 pi, you would have to add 2 pi again to get that third circle, okay? Any questions on Emily's work there? Should I leave it up for 1 more minute? Okay. All right, look down below. What's changed in part 3? How do the problems look different in part 3?
Give the general solution.
Oh, 2 theta.
Okay, so in part 3, you do have a 2 theta or a 3 theta or a 4 theta instead of a regular theta. The problem starts off the same. You still start by getting the cosine by itself. So you can start right now by isolating cosine. Are you guys done with this?
Yes.
Okay. All right, go ahead and isolate the cosine of 2 theta. The 2 will stay there. Okay, cosine of 2 theta equals negative 1/2. Where on the unit circle is the cosine negative 1/2? So right here, 2 pi over 3. And what's the other one? 4 pi over 3 down here. Good. Okay, so 2 pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3, those are equal to 2 theta because our angle is called 2 theta. It has a new name. So 2 theta equals 2 pi over 3. And 2 theta equals 4 pi over 3. And it says general solution, so I need to add 2 pi k. All right, did I find out what theta equals yet? No. I found out what 2 theta equals, so how would I solve for theta? Divide by 2, very good. When you divide by 2, you're also going to divide your 2 pi k. So divide this by 2, divide this by 2. Okay, so theta equals pi over 3 plus pi k. And 2 pi over 3 plus pi k. That means there's a lot more answers, because instead of adding 2 pi full circle to it to get another answer, you can add a half circle, and every time you add a half circle, you get another answer. So there are a lot more answers. All right, number 6. Let's divide by 5 and then do a plus or minus square root. Okay, when you square root tan squared 4 theta, it only square roots the tangent, okay? It doesn't square root the 4. All right, anybody know what family of angles has a tangent of root 3? $60 degrees, right, which would be pi over 3. So 4 theta equals pi over 3. And also, of course, the one opposite, which is 4 pi over 3. But we can actually combine those. Remember, pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3 can be combined with a plus pi k. And then negative root 3. What's an angle that has a tangent of negative root 3? It's the same family. It's still the over 3 family, but you're looking for a tangent of negative root 3. 4 pi over 3 is positive because the negative over negative cancels. What's the other one? 2 pi over 3. Okay. So what I did there was, for the positive, I gave this answer, and this answer includes the pi over 3 and the 4 pi over 3. For the negative root 3, I gave this answer, and that includes the 2 pi over 3 and the 5 pi over 3. And now I'm going to divide all my answers by what?
4.
By 4. All right, so theta equals pi over 12 plus pi over 4k. And theta equals 2 pi over 12 is pi over 6 plus pi over 4k. All right, I want to pause for a second to make sure you got that, but I want to tell you about the next section too. In the next section, it doesn't ask for the general solution, but when you have a multiple angle problem, this is a multiple angle problem because it has a 2 theta, 3 theta, 4 theta, you need to find the general solution in order to find the specific solutions. So we're still going to start by finding the general solution. I want to write those words down for you though so that you understand why we're doing this, okay? For a multiple angle problem, always start by finding the general solution, even if it's not a general solution problem. The general solution will help you find the specific solutions, because there are a lot of more specific solutions for these problems. Okay, make sure to write that down, and then we're going to do problem 7. We're going to start by isolating sine 2 theta. So if you're done writing the words, you can go to problem 7, start isolating sine 2 theta. Okay. plus 5 root 2 and divide by 6. All right, sine 2 theta equals what fraction? Root 2 over 2. So sine is going to be root 2 over 2 at pi over 4, and what else?
3 pi over 4.
That's right, 3 pi over 4. Good. Now, it doesn't say to give the general solution, but you're going to want to do that anyway, okay? So you're going to divide by 2. And then after the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to show you how to use that to find specific solutions, because there are extra specific solutions. If we run out of time, you're going to get 8 from Blackboard, but I'm willing to explain it during SS if you ask me, okay?
You have SS today?
Yeah, we do have SS today.